Hi everyone, it's Denise with Wondubar Crafts. I'm back. Yeah, I know. I just did a video earlier today, finishing up kind of the cover, and I went ahead. I've spent the remainder of the afternoon shredding and stripping down little pieces of fabric to do the spine. And like I said, I would try to do a video. I tried to set my phone up over there. It's it's doing the shaky thing, and I don't want to make anybody sick. So what I'm going to do is kind of piece it together, and hopefully I can explain it well enough so that you guys can understand. So I hope everybody's doing all right since the last video. Doing good here. I am doing this video the same day I did the cover. I'm just not going to release it until tomorrow because I will be up in Kansas City, but I still kind of want to get moving on this journal a little bit because I've lost about 5 days on it, so I want to get caught up, and I'm in that crafting mood. You know how that goes. So the whole idea behind this is to kind of make a ruffly, ratty, scruffy kind of spine. So what I did was pulled out a bunch of different Christmas scraps that I've had in my stash for years. And I cut them into different strips in different sizes, and then cut them down a little bit more. So really what I did was I'm going to piece these together. I cut some of these strips about 1 inch wide, and what I did was just took a snip and just ripped it so I would have a ragged edge, and pulled out all the little fray pieces. And then I cut some down to about 1.5 inches, some down to, let's see, how big is this, 2 inches, and then some are 1 inch square, because we're just going to stack and do some different things. And I went ahead and did a strip to kind of try to explain to you what it is that I'm going to do. I'm doing a hollow back, so I'm rounding the spine a little bit. So I've got it set on my paper towel roll, and when this is done, it will wrap like this. And yes, I do have it extended past, because you know the spine's going to have a 1/2 inch gusset, or 1/4 inch on either side, so a 1/2 inch gusset, and then another strip that attaches to this portion here, so that it attaches to the actual cover. So got to do a little math to figure out kind of how wide you want it. So this is what I did. Get a pencil out here from my cute little avocado bag that my friend Tammy sent me. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, so we've got our spine, our main piece, and that is 2 inches. And then we're going to have a 1/4 inch gusset on either side. And I know my lines are not straight, but that's a 1/4 inch there and there. Okay, so that's 2 and 1/4 and 1/4 is 1/2. And then of course from there it's the book ends, the front and back, which I'm going to put at least a 1 inch piece of fabric. So I might do 1 1/4 on that, but we'll just say 1. So I at least need it to be 3.5 inches wide. However, you got to remember, when you're sewing this, you got to leave yourself a seam allowance, and I'm sewing it backwards. I do a 1/4 inch, so from the 2 to here. Okay, let me see if I can't, I don't want to confuse you guys. So I need a 2 inches for the actual spine, plus a 1/2 inch. Then I've got another seam allowance to go to the strips I'm going to put on the edge, so that's going to be another 1/2 inch, and then plus another 1.25 inches, because I need a 1/4 inch seam allowance for that. So minimally I'm going to need, let's see, 3, 4 and a quarter total across. So, and then I know I'm good. So yes, there is math involved. I'm sorry. Just remember, you always have to leave yourself seam allowance. So when I measure this, I'm not going to measure it before. I mean, I already know how thick my pieces are, but I'm going to make sure that I at least have enough, that 2-inch to cover that, plus where my long strip that's going to go to my journal, that's going to attach to the cover of the journal, is going to come up. So there's going to be a 1/4 inch there. Okay, so let's see, am I going to need to put, probably going to need to put another strip on here as well. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far. I'll probably add another one just to make sure I've got enough space, because I want this ruffle to go the 2-inch of the spine and then over the 2 gussets, if that makes any sense. And then from the gusset area, that's where my long strips will attach down. So essentially what I am doing is I'm taking 2 pieces, I'm piecing it all together. I take 2 pieces and I put the wrong sides together instead of the right sides. And then I start about, for the top here, because this is my top strip, I'm going to start it all the way at the top. And then I'm just going to give a little back stitch and then come all the way down, and then I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch down at the bottom where I don't sew it, to leave that open, because then the next row, when it goes on, it will come up and I will sew it straight across this way to leave a fringe going upward. And you'll see as we go along. So that's essentially what I've done. I'm going to add another piece, and this is what it's going to look like. And then once we get them all sewed together, then I snip the little edges here to make it even more frayy, more rugged. So let me do a couple more strips, and what I do is I just do a few strips, and then I'll measure a little. I'll sew them together and measure as I go so that I don't go too far and too long. So I do know that I want to do at least 2 strips of this size, which is about, I think I made these, yeah, 1.5 inches. So with the 1/4, it'll be 1.25 inches. Okay, so then that'll be 2.5 inches, and then I'll put a longer one there, maybe another thinner one. We'll see. So I'm going to sew some strips together and show you what they look like as we go. So I'll be pausing, coming back, pausing, sewing, coming back. So just hang tight. Okay, so I did another strip, and so I need them to be about 3.5 inches long. You know, it's okay if it's a little bit longer. You can make adjustments. You can make, you know, you can cut another little piece off. It's okay. You want it to look ragged. That's the whole point, is to make it look raggedy. So then, so I've done my second piece. When I sew them together, I just finger press. There's no need to get an iron out. You don't need all that fuss and muss. So now what I want to do is take these 2 pieces, and I'm going to sew them wrong sides together. Okay, so that way when it opens up, I've got this little fuzzy piece in the center. So let me go do that, and I'll show you what I did. And normally what I'll do is I'll do like alternating how the seams pop up. So I'll put one going one way and one going the other. Okay, so these will all go like this direction. These will all go that direction. And you'll see what it does when I get done. Hold on. Okay, so like I said, I sewed one going this direction and one going that direction. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these little edges and I'm just going to snip them. Not all the way down, but just a little bit. I mean, I would just leave maybe 1/8 of an inch. You know, don't snip it all the way down, just enough to kind of give it a raggedy kind of, so that they can go either direction. They can fray out a little more and then get fuzzy. And same thing with this. I'm gonna, And all of this on the back will get glued, so it's not going to go anywhere. Okay. And then the same thing with this one. And it's okay if it doesn't lay flat. You kind of want to give it that ruggedy kind of look. And see, now when you got pieces that stick up too far, you can just kind of clip them a little bit. That's okay. If they're sticking way, way up, and you know, it's okay if some of them are a little longer than the others. You just don't want them too long, you know. So then I just finger it, and then see, it gets all nice and fuzzy. Okay, and then we just repeat the process. You can do them the same size all the way down. I'm going to do, let's see. This piece is right now, let's see, it's going to be 2 1/4. So, and my spine length is 8 5/8. So I think what I'm going to do is put a little short one in there, and then I'm going to do some long ones. So let me go take these over to the machine, and I'm going to do a couple of those, and then I'll stop and show you where I'm at. Okay. Okay, so I did some short pieces to some longer pieces, and don't freak out if your pieces go longer than what you need. That's okay, because when we sew all this together and you have some longer scrappy pieces, you can either trim them and then refray them, or you can just stitch your side piece that's going to go down the spine, and then trim it from there if you want. It's totally up to you. It does not have to be all neat and pretty. Don't be surprised if you are a sewer if you have to take some pieces apart from time to time, because I catch myself putting right side to right side together instead of wrong side to wrong side together for, you know, quilting and all that stuff. So it happens, but it's okay. It's meant to be all scrappy. It doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm going to go and just sew a straight line, and sew these two pieces together and remeasure and see where else I need to go from there. So I'll be right back again. Okay, so at this point what I want to do is I want to measure. And don't forget that after each segment that you sew together, that you make your little clips in there, and then, you know, kind of ruffle it a little bit. It'll help it look a lot better as you go. So let's see, this is about 4 3/4 inch. Of course I got to take that quarter, so about 4 1/2. I need it the halfway mark to be, oh, where is my pencil? I'm going to write this down so I know. See, if my length is 8 5/8, then half is going to be 4, and let's see, 5/8, half of 5/8 is, let's see, 1 2 3 4 5, about the midway part, I would say is, it's going to be like in a 1/16 range, so it's going to be like 8 and 1 2 5/16 or something like that. So I would say put it about 8 and 3/8 to be safe, because you can always pull up your fringe. So now I got to take a 1/4 inch off here because this is going to get attached. So right now I'm at 4 1/2, which is a little more than what I need, and that's good. So I've gotten half the spine done, and it will sit like that on there. And it looks a little rough right now, but once it's all put together, it'll look really cute and fuzzy, and it'll have so much texture It's going to be cool. So what I'm going to do is just do the reverse and do some more big pieces here, and then a thin strip, and then 2 more of the other strips. So I'm going to go ahead and do those off camera, and then come back. I'm going to sew it all together and then show you what I've got to finish that up, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so this is what we've got. It's all nice and tattery and ruffly and rugged. It's all got Christmassy fabric, and this will go over the spine. Now, you're saying, oh, Denise, this is all like thin at the top and wide at the bottom. That's okay. We're going to trim it up a little bit and then refray it. I mean, that's the whole part of it. That's what makes it, you can't really go wrong with it. So if you make mistakes, you do whatever, it's okay. It's perfectly okay. So I want to take about this much off the top, and it doesn't have to be a precise cut. This is not quilting. This is not sewing class. Okay, and then you can just pull some of your threads off the top and just refray it a little bit. Remember, it'll get glued, so no problem there. I just like the top of mine to be a little fringy there. And then, let's see, and I am measuring it to the spine piece because that's the piece it is actually going to get glued to. So, all right, and then we'll take a little bit off the bottom. Oh, not that much. Like I said, it doesn't have to be mega perfect. Okay, that's why I like doing this kind of thing, because there's no messing it up, really. I mean, you could sew it crooked, you could sew it, you could not be able to sew a straight line, and you do all right with this. So, okay. Now, my width, it needs to be, let's see, what did we say? 2 inches plus a 1/4 inch on either side, so 2.5, and then I need to leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance for the other. 2.5, so 2, 2.5, 3. Okay, so this is a little bit longer, and that's okay, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to measure here, and then when I put my side pieces on, I can measure, I can trim it up even further. So, and it'll give me plenty of space to make more fringe on the edge. So, now, we're just about squared off. Might be a little bit wider on this end, I think. 4. And then this one is about 3.5. Yeah, so I think this end is just a little bit wider. Okay, so we're pretty much done with all these little fabric scraps, and I will keep these to either make some, I've got a big patch over here which I will probably use in the journal, all these little scrappy pieces as well, or make some fabric clusters or something, and the rest of this will probably go back into a little packet so I have it for Christmas stuff. And then now what I want to do is figure out what kind of fabric I want to use on my sides. And that's going to be fun because I've got a big stack, and I was thinking I kind of would like plaids, but I don't know if it's going to go well with this background. So we're going to kind of use it as a little bit of a guide here. This way. And this, of course, will come out, and then, because this is going to get tucked up, and then we're going to have some side strips, because this is going to actually go over the top of this. Remember, we want a 1/4 inch gusset, so it's actually going to be rounded here. It's not going to lay flat. So I'm trying to think if I want to go with a solid. I don't know if I like that red. Kind of like this deeper red here. I don't know. We'll pull that aside. Maybe even this brickle crackle one. See, I have this really pretty plaid, but I'm thinking it might be like too much plaid. Can you ever have too much plaid? I don't know. Okay, let's see. Of course, we've got some of this checker, and that's kind of really old and vintagey looking. I think this is vintage anyway, but I don't know how well that will look there. Meh, meh, meh. I don't know. We'll set it aside here. This is the fun part, of course. And of course, I've got one that's a little more, it's got a little more white base background, and then it's got like a plaid ribbon, and it's kind of sparkly, but I don't know. I just don't think that one's going to go well. Okay. I've got, I don't think the blue is going to go with it either. I've got some green and red. Nope. Okay. Or I could use a green, because there's a lot of red going on too, right? So I don't know. Do you think I should use a green to pull that in, since our edges are green? Or should I use just a, I don't know, I'm kind of liking the green. The green or this? I think I like the green. I think I'm going to go with the green. I've got some like almost poinsettia. No, that's not going to work. Nope. Alright, we're going to go with that green. So, not as hard as what I thought. So now what I need to do is cut 2 strips, and because I want 1 inch to come over this way, and then I need a 1/4 inch seam here, I'm going to cut it minimally 1 1.25 inches, which I think will be perfect because this is still a little bit longer, and I think it'll come over just fine on there. And we can always trim it up if I need to. So, what to do? I think I'm going to cut these 1.5 inches, do my 1/4 inch, and then take a look and see. And then I can glue it on here, and then once it sets, I'll be able to see where it's going to sit here, and whether or not because it'd be easier to trim down these pieces than it will be to trim it again once it's glued on here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut these pieces, and then I'm going to sew them down the side here, and then I'll come back, and then I'm going to glue it to this. So then I think hopefully it will all tie in together. So once again, I'm going to pause, you guys. Sorry about that. And I will be right back. Okay, so I got my side pieces all sewn on, and I've kind of pulled some of the threads out to kind of fringe it up a little bit, and I may have to cut it down. That's not a problem. So let's kind of recap what I did, so just in case you guys still don't understand, because I know it's kind of a lot to have to do without showing you on the machine. So what I did was took 2 pieces of fabric, okay, and I put them wrong side together, and then I sewed a 1/4 inch so that when I opened it and I just finger pressed it like this, you know, after it's sewn, your seam is on the outer side, so that it's off, so it'll end up, when you trim it and put those little nicks in there, it'll get real fringy. Now, I did say that I typically, when I sew the straight pieces, when I sew the rows together, okay, I will do like one going one way and one going the other. And you can do it just like I did down here. I made them all go the same direction. So it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be fringy. Okay, either way you do it. So if you have problems trying to hold it, you know, the seam's going one way and the seam going the other through the machine, just make them all go the same direction. That's fine. Okay, and there's no perfect measurements for it as far as what goes on it, how big a piece needs to be. They don't need to all be the same size. You just want to make sure that your end result, your end piece, will fit on the back of your spine piece, and that you leave yourself a 1/4 inch gusset on either side, and then another straight piece, or you could go all the way across with this if you wanted to, just so that you have enough to be able to glue to the actual cover itself. Okay, and if you guys have any questions or whatever, don't hesitate to ask me in the comments below, you know, and I will help you if I can. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and glue this to this piece, and then I will probably let it sit overnight just to dry, and then I'll have another part where I come back and I will glue this down to the cover and cut it all back and make sure everything is good on it. So, because I will probably back this piece as well. Actually, I might do that now. Just will this piece fit in there? No. Actually, I think I might. I'll do it after. I'll do it after. Because I don't want to have to go fishing and hunting and doing all that stuff, hunting and pecking. So I already know that my fabric's going to be a little larger and a little larger on the top and bottom. That's okay. That's so I can trim it down when it gets on the journal, or I may just leave it and fringe it so that it's just nice, you know, you've got that frayed edge there. Okay. So what I want to do is kind of make it as even as possible. And I am going to, you know what, I think I want to Mod Podge this. Do I want to Mod Podge it? No, I want to fabric tag it. Because I don't have to worry about it going through the fabrics, because this is all frayed. Now if I was trying to get a smooth edge, I would definitely use Mod Podge on there to help, because it lays smoother and you won't get these little clumps, these glue clumps that like to saturate the fabric, and then you have lumpy bumpies or hard little knots in your fabric when it dries. So, but because all the fringe is on the upper side, I don't need to worry about that. So I get it as close to my edge as possible. And I hope this wasn't too confusing. I know it would have been so much easier. I've got to figure out, I think I might buy another camera just so that I have another view that I can do either from the machine or, you know, from the computer itself or whatever. Just because I do a lot of sewing, and I do like to do a lot of sewing projects with my journals, and I think it would be much more helpful for you guys if you guys could see it, especially if you're not an avid sewer. A lot of my projects, you don't have to be an avid sewer to do. I mean, this was pretty scrappy, you know. So, and as you can see, putting this on didn't take too much of my curve off. I mean, I don't want it too curvy, but I still want a little bit of that curve in there for that hollow back spine. So I am going to leave this to dry. Okay, and then I will probably come back and do part 2 maybe tomorrow night, because this is Thursday. I'm going to be out of town tomorrow during the day, but I might do it tomorrow evening and then upload it maybe Saturday, because I think I'm going to have this one upload tomorrow, which is Friday. So then that way there's not a huge gap in the time frame to do this. So, all right, so I'm going to leave this to, in fact, I may just leave it like this so it kind of keeps the curve a little bit while it's drying. And I hope this was kind of informative. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to show you guys. Like I said, I'm going to work on trying to get another camera set up so that you guys can see these projects when they're sewn. Sometimes it is easier. If you're like me, sometimes written instructions and verbal instructions are not so clear as to actually see it, or, you know, see the end result to try and figure it out. So, okay, guys, that's enough of me rambling. Until next time, plenty of hugs, loves, and blessings. Bye, guys.